me, Nemesis. Do you recall the Red Canyon? You'll die in it. Die! Die! You took everything that I loved! He's gone now, Mother.
Trippy.
Oh my. What could have brought you here? I wonder how you got in here. It is most rude to interrupt a moment of repose. Very rude indeed. Now come to me. I wish to have a look at you.
Alright, so I'm going to go with female Bila. I believe that she has access to the best class. Well, I guess the best, either the best or second best. It's debatable. Physical class in the game, which is Falcon Knight.
I have not seen the likes of you before. Who are you anyway? I see. Then you must have a name of sorts. Go on. Huh. I shall not ever grow accustomed to the sound of human names. You must possess a day of birth as well. Beneath which moon and on what day were you born to this world?
This... I could probably pick 5, but I usually just pick 7. It doesn't really matter, but you do get a gift that is a stat item. So if you're really... It's not like an amazing stat item, so if you really want to make sure you have it, then I guess you could pick a slightly earlier date to ensure you get it before Chapter 2 starts. But it's not something I really worry about, and I honestly forget I have the item half the time. Just gives you 2 charm.
Well, wonders never cease. It seems we share our day of birth. How strange. It all feels so... familiar. I think it may be time for yet another nap. It is almost time to begin.
Hey, time to wake up. Were you having that dream again? You've described her to me before. I don't think I've ever met anyone like that. In any case, just put that out of your mind for now. The battlefield is no place for idle thoughts. Risking your life is part of the job for mercenaries like us. Letting your mind wander is a sure way to get yourself killed. Okay, time to get moving. Our next job is in the kingdom. I told you before, it's far from here, so we'll need to leave at dawn. Oh, good grief. Everyone is already waiting for us outside.
Gerald, sir, sorry to barge in, but your presence is needed.
What's happened?
Please forgive our intrusion. We wouldn't bother you were the situation not dire.
What do a bunch of kids like you want at this hour?
We're being pursued by a group of bandits. I can only hope that you will be so kind as to lend your support.
Bandits? Here?
It's true. They attacked us while we were at rest in our camp.
We've been separated from our companions and we're outnumbered. They're after our lives, not to mention our gold.
I'm impressed you're staying so calm considering the situation. Wait, that uniform.
Bandits spotted just outside the village. Damn, there were a lot of them.
I guess they followed you all the way here. We can't abandon this village now. Come on, let's move. Hope you're ready.
Alright, let's get started.
Let's take care of those thieves before they overrun the village. Take down the enemies in front first. That should take the wind out of their sails.
Yep. Okay, so going with Golden Deer for this one, which means we'll be using Claude. Claude is an archer. Since we're going with Claude, I don't
I will prevail.
want to use any of these guys. I want to give all the XP I can to Claude and Byla. So that is exactly what I'll be doing. Ooh. Did I just fuck up already? Nah, I'm sure it's fine. Whatever. So where's he gonna do? Kill her? Alright. I should have moved her back, but whatever.
Ready and willing.
Yeah, it should be fine. Oh, he made me a liar. Alright, whatever.
Stay
Someone's
focused.
about to get clobbered. That's kind of funny. Whoopsie doopsie. Oh, he's just not going for them. That's interesting. So I'm gonna do my absolute best to make sure Byleth hits level 2 in this chapter. Mostly just because Claude is not a physical unit, and the one thing that really sucks early on is you really need someone that can tank hits. So I need to make sure she gets as much XP as possible. I should be able to pretty easily get her to level 2, and maybe Claude can get halfway to 2 before this is over. If I remember right.
Yes.
Alright, so do this. Oh, I guess I should make them talk. Fast forward. I'll be fast forwarding battle animations. I won't skip them. I'll probably skip dancer animations, but not battle animations. Alright.
This is a fine. Attack when an ally is.
Yeah. He's basically just telling me that if you attack while you're next to an ally, you'll get
I didn't
bonuses.
expect to run
Oh,
into
whoops.
mercenaries like you in some remote village. The gods of fortune must be smiling on me.
I'll need to watch that. I have a habit of just... I've played this so much, I've gotten into the habit of just button mashing through dialogue and
That's the
battles.
golden deer for you.
So I'm using the forest, gives you higher evasion there.
Each battle, a chance
Didn't
to
seem
grow.
to matter because she got hit twice anyway, but that's alright. So Claude's gonna get whacked here, but it's fine.
It's your call.
That is that.
Here. heal. You're probably gonna take the hit, so you heal too. As you can see, Byleth is already almost halfway to mastering the commoner class. Everybody starts out as either a commoner or a noble, and if you master it, you get +5 HP as an ability, which is honestly very strong for the first 3 chapters or so, because everything just hits so hard that you really just need it. You need as much as you can get. Alright, let's get a good level up. I usually don't, but yeah, that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. So, what you're really looking for on Maddening is you're looking for attack speed. That'll be the thing that kills you. And to get attack speed, you need to have high speed, and then you need to have high strength because of weapon weight. I can't remember exactly what the formula is off the top of my head, but basically it's like speed minus weight divided by strength times 5 or something like that. It's some formula like that. I'll make sure to look it up. And
damn! Why are there mercenaries in the village? Guess we'll have to deal with them too.
I'll be sure to look the formula up later, and I'll mention it somewhere. But the formula isn't really what matters. What matters, all you really need to know is you have attack speed. Byleth's attack speed is 5. Oh, it actually tells you that. I didn't know it told you that. I just found that out myself. The unit will attack twice if its attack speed is at least 4 or more. So any enemy that has 9 or more attack speed right now would be able to hit her twice in 1 round. Nothing in this little prologue chapter attacks that fast, so we're fine. Claude there for, I guess, the link bonus that I don't think exists.
Hey! You with the blank stare! Out of my way!
It's very rude. So ideally... Oh, okay, so I guess she's just gonna get nailed. So unfortunately she's been hit twice, which isn't great. So normally what you like is you like her to dodge, because if she's strong enough to take a second hit, then that means you can kill this guy and get the XP, but I won't be able to do that. I probably shouldn't even be hitting him with her yet. I should probably just play it safe. So I'm just going to use it a curve shot.
Yeah, I'm going to kill you where you stand.
Just to get 1 extra hit, 1 extra bit of damage on him. So Claude will be level 1 going into chapter 1, which isn't great, but that's fine. And a Wrath Strike will win the fight.
Honestly, what are you accomplishing with that little stunt? It's like you're trying to get me killed, you fool. Well, it's fine. After all, if you don't know the value of your own life, you're not going to protect it very well, are you? Course not. Well then, I guess it's up to me to guide you from now on, right? You can call me Sothis, but I'm also known as the Beginning. Sothis. Yes, that is it. My name is Sothis. And I am also called the Beginning. But who once called me that? I was not able to recall my name until just now. And just like that, it came to me. How odd. That look upon your face. Did you think me a child? A mere child who forgot her own name? Phooey! That child just saved your life. And what does that make you? Correct. You understand. You threw yourself before an axe to save just one young girl.
I'm gonna try to wait a second or two on those so that way you can actually read them. Sorry, I just kind of have them memorized at this point and I kind of mash through them. But I'll do my best.
Yet all is well, as I have stalled the flow of time for now. You would have died had I not intervened. There now. Is gratitude so much to ask? I did deem you worth saving after all. Though it is only momentary, time has stopped. However did I manage that? When time begins again, the axe will tear into your flesh and you will surely meet your end. How rude of you to drag me into this. Now what to do? Of course! I must turn back the hands of time! Yes, I do believe it can be done. You really are quite troublesome. I cannot wind back time too far, but all is well. You are aware of what's to come, which means you can protect yourself this time. Now go! Yes, you who bears the flames within. Drift through the flow of time to find the answers that you seek.
Hey, over here!
Huh?
Hey, did you just...
The Knights of Seros are here. We'll cut you down for terrorizing our students. Hey, the thieves are running away. Go after them. The students seem to be unharmed. And who's this?
Why him?
Alright, that's that one. Alright, it's just going to be a lot of dialogue for the next couple minutes.
Captain Gerald? It is you! Goodness, it's been ages! Don't you recognize me? It's Alois, your old right-hand man! Well, that's how I always thought of myself anyway. Oh, it must have been 20 years ago that you went missing without a trace. I always knew you were still alive.
You haven't changed a bit, Alois. Just as loud as ever. And drop that captain nonsense. I'm not your captain anymore. These days, I'm just a wandering mercenary. One who has work to do. Goodbye, old friend.
Right. Goodbye, Captain. Wait, that isn't how this ends. I insist that you return to the monastery with me.
Garrig Mach Monastery. I suppose this was inevitable.
And how about you, kid? Are you the captain's child? Oh, great sense of humor, this one. Clearly cut from the same cloth as the captain. I'd love for you to see the monastery, too. You will join me, won't you? What's troubling you, Captain? You aren't about to run off again, are you?
Even I wouldn't dare run from the Knights of Seros.
The Knights of Seros. They do seem rather skilled. Ah, it seems your presence is required. Get going.
I appreciate your help back there. Your skill is beyond question. You're clearly an experienced mercenary. And your father, that would be Gerald, the Bladebreaker? Former captain of the Knights of Seros, oft praised as the strongest knight to ever live. Have I missed anything? You haven't heard of the Knights of Seros? The most famous order of knights in all of Fodlan.
Hey, you are coming with us to the monastery, right? Of course you are. I'd love to bend your ear as we travel. Oh, I should mention that the three of us are students of the Officers' Academy at Garrigmach Monastery. We were doing some training exercises when those bandits attacked. I definitely got the worst of it.
That would be because you ran off.
Too true. I was the first to make a strategic retreat. Everything would have worked out if these two hadn't followed me and ruined everything. Because of them, every single one of those bandits chased after us. Utterly ridiculous.
Ah, so that's what you were thinking, Claude. And here I thought you were acting as a decoy for the sake of us all.
His intentions were as clear as day. You will prove a lacking ruler if you cannot see the truth behind a person's words.
You will prove a lacking ruler yourself if you look for deceit behind every word and fail to trust those whom you rely on.
Oh, joy. A royal debate between their highnesses. I wonder how being completely predictable affects one's ability to wield power. Personally, as the embodiment of distrust, I'd say your little exchange smacks of naivete.
Me, naive. Tell me, are you actually incapable of keeping quiet, or is your lack of self-awareness a condition of some sort?
In any case, forgive our digression. I must speak with you if you can spare a moment. The way you held your ground against the bandits' leader was captivating. You never lost control of the situation. It showed me I still have much to learn.
Your skill is precisely why I must ask you to consider lending your services to the Empire. I might as well tell you now, I am no mere student. I am also the Adrestian Empire's...
Halt, Edelgard. Please allow me to finish my own proposition. The Holy Kingdom of Fargus is in dire need of exceptional individuals like yourself. Please, do consider returning to the kingdom with me.
Whoa there, you two sure are hasty. Trying to recruit someone you just met. Tactless, really. I was personally planning to develop a deep and lasting friendship on our journey back to the monastery before begging for favors. But it seems there's no time for niceties in this world. So, capable stranger, let's get right to it. Where does your allegiance lie?
It seems one's place of birth is quite significant to them. Yet they are so impressed by you that you may take your pick. Well?
Is that right? Well, that's a win for the Alliance, so I suppose I'm obligated to be happy.
All right, that's enough with the small talk. It's time to head back to the monastery.
Looks like we'll have to pick this up another time.
My, they are in such a hurry. You know, each of the three is most unique. Yes, I thought the same. I am so sleepy once again. I may be sleeping, but
Part 1. White Clouds. Great Tree Moon. 3 houses. The icy winds of the Agma Mountains have begun to scatter, and the verdant fields once again spring to life across Fodlan, heralding the start of a new year. As they celebrate the dawning year, the people pray that they may realize their full potential, just as a tiny sprout hopes to one day grow into a great tree. The continent of Fodlan, said to be protected by a revered goddess, has existed since time immemorial. 3 ruling powers now control the land. In the south lies a region long held by a more than 1,000-year-old dynasty, the Adrestian Empire. Beyond its borders, to the frigid north, is the home of the Holy Kingdom of Fargus, ruled by the royal family and its knights. To the east, a league of nobles that heeds no king nor emperor rules what is called the Leicester Alliance. Once consumed by a tempest of war and turmoil, Fodlan and these 3 mighty powers now exist in relative harmony.
This will be your first time at the monastery. I'd be happy to show you around.
It really is Fodlan in a nutshell. The good and the bad.
Like it or not, we'll be there soon enough. There it is. Garrick Mock Monastery.
Is here.
I wonder, did the flow of time bring you here?
It's been years since I've last set eyes on this place. To be forced to see her now, I've never spoken of this to you before, but many years ago, I was a knight here. I reported to the Archbishop, Lady Rhea. As you know, the majority of folks in Fodlan are devout followers of the teachings of Seros. The leader of that ridiculously large religious organization is the Archbishop, Lady Rhea.
Thank you for your patience, Gerald. My name is Seteth. I am an advisor to the Archbishop.
Right. Hello.
It has been a long time, Gerald. I wonder, was it the will of the goddess that we have another chance meeting like this?
Forgive my silence all these years. Much has happened since we last spoke.
So I see. The miracle of fatherhood has blessed you. That is your child, is it not?
Yes. Born many years after I left this place, I wish I could introduce you to the mother of my child, but I'm afraid we lost her to illness.
I see. My condolences. As for you, I heard of your valiant efforts from Alois. What is your name? A fine name indeed. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you for saving those students of the Officers' Academy. Gerald, you already know what it is I wish to say, do you not?
You want me to rejoin the Knights of Seros, don't you? I won't say no, but...
Your apprehension stings. I had expected that Alois would have already asked this of you. I must step away for now, but I expect they will desire a word with you soon. Please listen carefully to what they have to say. Until tomorrow, farewell.
I can't believe it. Forced back into the Knights of Seros. I'm sorry I dragged you into this. Looks like I'll be stuck here for a while. And I'm afraid your services are requested as well. Nothing like that. They want you to teach, by the sound of it. You heard those brats earlier talking about the Officers' Academy, right? Well, the Academy just happens to be short a professor. And apparently that damned Alois went and recommended you to Lady Rhea.
So, you must be the new professor. My, how stern and handsome you are.
No. I'm not the one you're looking for. You can handle things from here. Good luck. And watch out for Lady Rhea. I don't know what she's thinking making you a professor like this. She may be up to something. Stay on your guard.
Oh, it's you then? So young.
Competence and age are not necessarily correlated, as you well know. I am Hanneman, a Crest Scholar and Professor at the Officers' Academy. I wonder if you bear a crest of your own. When next you have a moment to spare, I insist that you pay me a visit so we can delve into the subject further.
I'm Manuela. I'm a professor, a physician, a songstress, and available. It's nice to meet you. I look too pretty for that line of work, do I? But yes, when I'm not teaching, I can be found in the infirmary. If you're ever lonely, please do come and pay me a visit. I would love to.
Spare our colleague the needless chatter, Manuela. Now then, it seems you'll be taking charge of one of the Academy's 3 houses. I expect you haven't yet been briefed on the nature of each, have you?
Do you really not know? Fine. I'll do you a favor and explain. The Officers' Academy is comprised of 3 houses of students, each of which is closely affiliated with its region of origin. The Black Eagle House is for students from the Adrestian Empire. Their house leader this year is Edelgard, the Imperial Princess, who is in line to be the next Emperor.
The Blue Lion House is for students from the Holy Kingdom of Fargus. Their house leader this year is Prince Dimitri. He is to be the next king of Fargus.
Lastly, there is the Golden Deer House, which is for students of the Leicester Alliance. Their house leader is Claude, grandson to Duke Regan, the leader of the Alliance.
To think that the next Emperor, King, and Sovereign Duke are all here. It certainly is a promising year for the Academy.
I'll say. I just hope none of those little treasures cause any trouble.
Quite. For now, I suggest taking a stroll around the Academy to get your bearings. And when you've a moment, please stop by my research laboratory.
The old man has a point. Oh, and keep in mind that I've only notified the house leaders that you're our new professor. It's more fun that way. I suggest you try spending time with the students. Some odd ducks in that bunch, but they're good kids. I'm sure Lady Rhea will have more information for you tomorrow, but that should get you going. Good luck. You'll need it.
Have you no intention of changing your mind, Rhea? Appointing a stranger, a child no less, as a professor at our esteemed academy is...
I have made my decision, Sedith. I know worrying comes naturally to you, but there is truly no need. That stranger is Gerald's flesh and blood, after all.
I can't say that's all too comforting. How trustworthy is this Gerald character? Is he not the man who went missing after the Great Fire 21 years ago? I would remind you that Flane is now here with us as well. I beg of you, please consider whether this is an unnecessary risk.
Seteth, they have my trust. Let that be enough for you as well. More importantly, I have received a report from Shamir. I am increasingly concerned about a matter regarding our suspicious individual. We cannot ignore those who harbor ill will toward the Church, especially if they are frequenting Garrick Mach.
Yes, that matter is of great importance as well. I shall continue my investigation. Rhea, for now I will have faith that you are placing your trust with the utmost care. I pray that nothing occurs to shake that confidence.
Of course.
Alright. Ooh, what was that? Ah, I yanked on my headset cord. Alright.
I assume you are already aware that you will be teaching here at the Officers' Academy, correct? To start, please speak with the 3 house leaders. You should also take a look around the Academy and acquaint yourself with your new home. That is your first task here at the monastery. Please let me know if you accept it. Once you have finished, come and speak with me. May I ask a favor of you?
Alright. Just a quest, speak to people, speak to the students, basically. No big deal. Yep, I know how quests work. Okay.
Ha! I imagine you were a bit surprised that I recommended you as a professor here. Frankly, we had someone else in mind for the role, but they ran off during our dust-up with the bandits. Can't entrust students to someone who's abandoned them once before, huh?
You saved the lives of the students you came across. That, at least, was admirable. Now you should make the rounds. Go around the monastery and see that you greet everyone.
Alright, so I will be talking to everyone from all 3 houses. I'll also be talking about my thoughts on these characters, especially how they relate to being recruited to the Golden Deer, because if you don't know, you can poach students from other houses. Some of them you can't, and I'll mention those ones too. And we're going to start with the Black Eagles, and unfortunately for them, most of their units are pretty mediocre. There's only two real standouts. One that's okay, and then in my experience, the rest of them are kind of bad.
So, you've accepted a teaching position here. Pity. I was hoping you would lend your strength to the Empire. I never properly introduced myself, did I? My name is Edelgard von Hresvelk. I am the princess and heir apparent of the Adrestian Empire. I wonder if you'll be tasked with leading the Black Eagles. I hope you've had a chance to meet everyone. Would you like to know more about any of the Black Eagles?
Sure. Start with you.
Me? Well, some think I'm a bit distant. Arrogant, even. But there's little to be done. One day, I must rise to become Adrestia's next emperor. What else? Well, it seems to me that we may have similar personalities.
That's nice. We will not be getting to know Edelgard very well. Mostly because we can't recruit her, so honestly, there's not much of a point in talking about her until I get to the Crimson Flower playthrough.
Hubert is the heir of Marquis Vestra. He has served me since I was a child. You may think his blood runs a bit cold, but actually that's rather accurate. Still, if you can get past that, you'll see he's quite astute and reasonable.
So, Hubert is one of the non-recruitable characters, so you cannot recruit Hubert away from the Black Eagles. I will talk about him a little bit though. His defining ability it's okay, it's just like 5 extra damage from gambits. But unfortunately for Hubert, his charisma isn't the best, because you still have to land the gambit. And in my experience, he usually ends up with something like 40 to 60% on Maddening, which isn't ideal. So, in my opinion, that ability is not particularly useful. But I'll talk about him more when we go Crimson Flower. I guess the one thing I will mention about Edelgard while I'm thinking about it, though, is in my opinion, she is, of the 3 lords, she is by far the worst. No debate. The only redeeming quality she has is her relic weapon. But I'll talk about that more when I'm actually playing her out. Alright, Ferdinand.
For some reason, he thinks of me as a bitter rival and is always trying to challenge me. It's terribly irritating. His house is that of Duke Iron, which produces Adrestia's prime ministers. That family is, perhaps, too pleased with its own status.
So Ferdinand, the way they kind of set up characters in this game for all 3 houses, at least it looks to me, is they kind of gave every house at least one of each archetype. So every house has at least like 1 offensive mage, 1 healer, a cavalier, some kind of fighter or armored knight unit, and the swordmaster assassin type. And then there is 1 dedicated Pegasus Knight, and then there's a couple duplicates here and there. So for instance, the Golden Deer, I think technically has 2 people that are the Cavalier unit in Leone and Lorenz. But I kind of count Leone as part of the Petra, what's her name? The Petra, Ingrid, Leone trio, because of their speed, but I'll talk about that more when I get to them. Ferdinand is part of what I would call the Sylvain Lorenz Ferdinand trio, and that they're all natural cavaliers, I guess. Cavaliers are kind of bad though, so I will not be using any cavaliers, and I will explain why when I get to it. But the gist is, cavaliers have a penalty to speed growth rates, and that's bad in Maddening. His defining ability is very good. Unfortunately for him, recruiting him is a pain in the ass. I do not believe you can abuse the B+ support recruitment with Ferdinand. And his requirements are... what are his requirements? Let me look here. You need at least 10 dexterity and a C ranking in heavy armor. And I gotta tell you, if you're going heavy armor with Byleth, in my opinion, that's bad. Probably shouldn't do that. His stats are middling. He's a decent unit of the 3 Cavalier boys. He has the highest base growth rate and speed at 50. His strength is 45. So if you take him down his natural Cavalier progression, he basically ends up with a 40 speed growth for the entire game. And that means he will basically always be doubled by every melee unit after Part 2 starts or shortly after it starts. And at that point, that almost guarantees he gets one-rounded by one enemy. You can't have slow melee units on Maddening. And while the plus 15 to hit and avoid is nice, and it does combo decently well if you take him down the Wyvern Lord path, which in my opinion is the only viable way to take him. He does okay, but he's not worth recruiting in other routes, is I guess what I'm ultimately trying to say about him. So we will not be using Ferdinand for Golden Deer. Alright, Linhart.
He's remarkably intelligent, but he only wishes to apply himself to tasks that particularly interest him, and nothing else. He's also fond of, well, napping. If he had any work ethic or sense of duty to speak of, I suppose he would be destined to become an official of the Empire.
Alright, Linhart. Let's talk about Linhart. In my opinion, I think he's probably the second best healer in the game. Mainly just because he learns Warp. And Warp is a broken faith spell. If you don't know what it does, it just lets you warp a unit from their location to some other position on the map, and that distance is determined by his magic stat. Now his magic growth is only 45% base, which is average. So he usually ends up with, I don't know, about maybe 30, low 30s by the time endgame rolls around. So he can't warp you super far, but if you have 2 people with warp on your team, he can be useful in that regard, or if you need to warp 2 people. Anything else I'm thinking of? Recruiting him, you can abuse the B support ranking to recruit him. Does he learn any other interesting spells? I don't think so. He kind of learns like your typical reason spells, but he'll mostly be healing, so he probably won't be attacking too much. He gets Restore at Faith level B, which is okay. I mean, all it does is purge status effects, and in my experience, those usually aren't... By the time they start showing up, they're kind of already irrelevant. And he learns Warp at Faith A, which isn't... That means you won't have it for a while, but once you got it, it is useful. However, we will primarily be maybe recruiting him, if it works out, simply for the Prologue he unlocks with Leone, which gets a relic weapon. Alright, Caspar. Ugh, Caspar.
He's the second son of Count Bergliez. He has no inheritance in his future, which is perhaps why he's always so eager to prove himself. He's overly energetic and rushes headfirst into any battle. If he ends up in your care, be sure to keep a close eye on him.
Okay, so Caspar is born fighter. Adjacent foes suffer avoid -10 during combat. It's okay early on, because early on everybody has pretty low dex and you need to be able to guarantee hits. But Caspar is part of what I call the Armored Knight, I guess, brawler trio in Caspar, Raphael, and Dedue. And all 3 of those characters have pretty low speed growths. Caspar's, I believe, is the highest at 45. Dedue has 20, and Raphael has 15. So, of the 3 of them, Caspar is by far the most useful. But with the speed growth of 25, and the fact that you cannot abuse the B support the B level support to recruit him means I will not be recruiting him for the Golden Deer. And even if I did recruit him, his speed is only 45, which means he will be very rapidly outclassed as the game progresses, meaning the only viable path for him is pretty much an Armored Knight. Because while he does have a strength growth of 45, in my experience, that's typically not enough damage to make up for the fact that he will get doubled by pretty much anything that attacks him. And since Armored Knights just melt to any kind of magic, it basically means if there's any mage near anything, you cannot advance with him, which kind of makes Armored Knights useless in my opinion. He, at least, unlike Dedue, doesn't have a weakness in riding, so you can make him a Great Knight, which means his speed growth penalty will only be -10 instead of, I think, the Armored Knight's -20. Or is it 15? I can't remember. It's something like that. So I don't think he's a particularly good unit, and I usually try to stop using him as soon as possible. Even on hard mode, he just feels kind of bad to me. Alright, Bernadetta.
She's Count Varley's only daughter. I suppose you could say she's a bit eccentric, but she seems like a gentle soul. I believe she's shut herself away in her quarters and doesn't care to leave, but don't worry, I'll make sure she finds her way to class.
Okay, Bernadetta. Persecution Complex. +5 attack when unit is not at full HP. That's actually a really good ability early on, because every little bit of damage you have early on really counts, especially in chapters like, 2. Chapter 2, it's really important. That's kind of the weenie weed out chapter in my opinion. But alright, so Bernadetta is kind of part of another trio, so she's part of the Archer trio, so Bernadetta, Ash, and Ignatz. And of the three of them, honestly, I've only had one playthrough where one of them wasn't awful, and it was my last Blue Lions playthrough where Ash got a ridiculous amount of strength level ups from levels like 4 to 10. Like, I think he had as much strength as Felix, and that's ridiculous. So Bernadetta has a 35 strength growth, which means she will basically do no damage for the entire game. Which is not fair, because all the archers you will be facing do an insane amount of damage for the entire game. You can kind of mitigate this by taking them down the fighter brigand tree and then pivoting into archery. And she does have a good dex growth and a good speed growth. It's the exact same for her, Ash, and I believe Ignatz is the same, but his dex is 5 less. So Bernadetta's 55-50 for dex and speed, Ash is 55-50, and then Ignatz is 50-50. So she will be fast enough to usually do alright, but she doesn't get a lot of HP, she doesn't get a lot of defense, so she's really squishy. She's kind of fast, but because her strength is going to be so low, her attack speed will be low, ultimately, which means she will get doubled by anything that hits her, including other archers. So in my opinion, these three characters, Ash, Bernadetta, and Ignatz, are not very useful after you've recruited all the people you need. So I may end up recruiting Bernadetta just for the Prologue with Petra, who I will be recruiting, and all that Prologue gets me is a bunch of Gambit battalions. So if I don't manage to squeeze her in time, it's fine. It's not a big deal. But in my opinion, she's not a particularly good unit.
Few commoners have joined the Black Eagle House, but Dorothea is an exception. She's a songstress from a famous opera company in the Empire. I'm not entirely sure what brought her to the Officers' Academy.
Dorothea, songstress, adjacent allies recover up to 10% of max HP at the start of each turn. That ability is actually very useful for the first 3 or 4 chapters, just because it means you don't have to be very careful with your vulnerary usage or your heals, because you have a limited number of heals for each map, and you will be taking a lot of damage. Otherwise, her spell list is pretty good. I believe she's the only Reason user that learns a very long range magic attack until we got the Cindered Shadows DLC with Constance. So she learns Meteor at Reason A, which is fine. She gets Physic at Faith C, which is also fine. Her growth rates are pretty mediocre though, only 40 magic, 45 dex, and 40 speed. So she doesn't hit very hard, she doesn't have very high accuracy, and she's not very fast. She also has a 15 defense, 35 res. So all in all, pretty mediocre, pretty weak. Her best use is as a dancer and a rally bot. Although if you really want a rally bot, you'll just take Annette because she's the best at it. So Dorothea is a good dancer, but I already have a dancer lined up for the Golden Deer, and because of that, I will not be recruiting her for Golden Deer. Alright, Petra. My man.
To the west of Fogland is an archipelago called Bridget. Petra is the granddaughter of their king. Bridget is a vassal state of the Empire, which is how she came to be enrolled here. She's incredibly smart and studious.
My man, Petra. She's a beast. So she has a pretty... Her one drawback is her strength. But you can look here, Hunter's Boon, plus 20 crit when foe's HP is less than 50. Less than or equal to 50. So that's pretty good, just in general. I mean, she's really good at picking people off with killing edges and things like that. So strength 40, HP is 45 base, which is solid. It means she'll more often than not get 1 HP per level when you add class base HP growth rates. Her dex is 50 and her speed is where she shines at 60. So basically what that means is any kind of class she's playing as that has a speed bonus will mean she basically gets a speed level up, speed growth every level up. Like, it's ridiculous. I've seen her hit 60 speed in some of my runs. It's also very possible to get a little lucky with her strength, in which case she turns into a monster. Her luck is 45, which means she will get enough luck that she won't be crit by the enemy very often. And since her dex is so high, she will be critting decently well towards endgame. Charisma's 35, which is alright. Resistance is 15, so she is very susceptible to magic. But if you really need to kill a mage with her, you can just give her a Brave Sword, and she should be strong enough to chomp right through him, at least for the mid-game. This is a very strong unit. You can abuse the B-level recruit with her. I believe the only two you can't is Ferdinand and Caspar. So I will absolutely be recruiting her. And I'll probably make her go Falcon Knight. I don't think I've done that before. I'm sure it'll be fun. Typically, I'd send her through the Fighter Brigand, and then I've done Wyvern Lord with her a couple times. Sometimes I've kept her as a Sword Master and an Assassin. Assassin absolutely enables the hell out of her strengths. It makes her really fast, but unfortunately, by endgame, if you keep her at Assassin or Swordmaster, she usually doesn't have enough strength to kill anything by herself, which is pretty typical in my experience with most of these units. She'll be pretty solid from about chapter 8 to like chapter 17, and then she'll just start to fall off as it goes. Because while she is fast, she's not very durable, so when she does get hit, it absolutely hurts. But she is fast enough and just strong enough to usually not get doubled by anything that isn't an Assassin or a Sword Master or a Thief unit. So, very strong unit, one of the better units in the game. We'll enjoy using her like I always do. And that's the Black Eagles. As you can see, they're not a particularly standout bunch. But that's an honor reserved for the Blue Lions and the Deer. Alright. Well, now that we're out here, let's go talk to the Black Eagle people.
Is it true that you saved Edelgard? That's incredible. The name's Caspar, by the way. Pleased to meet you.
Linhard, goodbye.
Sheesh, Linhard. How'd you get into the academy with those manners? So, are you a student here too? Maybe we'll be in the same class.
I like them, actually. I like all these characters. The problem is they're just bad.
I am Hubert, a humble servant of Lady Edelgard. I heard you came to the aid of Her Highness. You have my most sincere thanks. This is Petra. She has come all the way from Brigid to study in the Empire. Back on her archipelago, she is actually a princess. In Fodlan terms, she would be called heir to the throne.
Hello, I am called Petra. I am pleased to be meeting with... I am pleased to have met you.
Dorothea.
Well now, you don't have a familiar face. What brings you here? Oh, my name is Dorothea. Before I joined the Academy, I was a member of an opera company in the Empire. You should hear me sing sometime.
Dorothea's great. I actually love her character.
What? I don't talk to strangers.
Bernadetta, this is no stranger. Our house leader owes this person a great debt. Is that not right? I am Ferdinand von Eyre, legitimate son of the Eyre family, the Empire's foremost house. Are you going to join our class? I look forward to getting better acquainted with you.
Bernadetta's alright. Her personality is a bit tropish. Ferdinand is honestly just annoying to play with just because he says his fucking name and bites constantly. It's aggravating. It's like every time you select him, he just, I'm Ferdinand von Eyre. Shut up. But alright, let's talk about the lions.
Please accept my apologies for the other day. You came to our aid, yet I hadn't even the courtesy to properly introduce myself. I am Dimitri Alexandra Blaithid, Crown Prince of the Holy Kingdom of Fargus. Of course, at the Academy, I am simply a student. And I've heard word that you are to become a professor here. Delightful news. I still have much to learn, but I'm confident I could benefit greatly from your guidance. In any case, welcome to the monastery. I hear you're investigating the different houses here. Did any of the blue lions catch your attention?
Sure, dude. So, again, I can't recruit Dimitri or Dedu, so I won't go in depth, but all I will say is after the DLC was released, I'm pretty sure Dimitri is actually the best unit in the game, just because of the Chalice item you get from the Cindered Shadows DLC. Makes him ridiculous.
Me? Oh, please forgive me. It's difficult to open up on the spot, don't you think? I'm afraid my story has not been a pleasant one. I do hope that doesn't color your view of me, but I understand if that can't be helped.
I will say, the only thing I'll say about him for this, I guess, playthrough is don't let that weakness in Axis fool you. He can do it, and he's a monster with those classes. Dedu, he's, you know, part of the armored trio, but I can't recruit him, so I won't complain about him too much, but in my opinion, after, like, Chapter 8, he becomes one of the worst units in the game.
Dedu was born in Dusker, and has been loyally working in my service for the past 4 years. He's rather taciturn, but once you get to know him, you'll see he's a kind and good-natured young man.
Oh, I like him fine, and Staunch Shield is great early game, but can't recruit him, and he's bad, so nothing to say about him. Felix!
Felix is the heir to House Fraldarius. He has a bit of a sharp tongue, but don't let that fool you. Deep down, he's a good guy. He gravitates toward people who are skilled. Perhaps you would enjoy a friendly competition with him sometime.
Felix is a decent unit. I mean, based on the way he talks, like, the game's pretty much pushing you to make him a sword master. And I think it wants you to make him a mortal savant, but that class is awful. Don't ever have one unless you're just playing around. If you're just messing around, then it's fine, but that class is bad. Oh, Lone Wolf does 5 extra damage when no battalion is assigned or endurance is 0. It's alright. I don't really ever notice it. I usually put a battalion on him just for the stat boosts they give. I guess it's kind of useful early, just because you don't have enough battalions to go around, and since his charisma is so low and he has a weakness in authority in the first place, he doesn't take advantage of them very well anyway. So you get some use out of it early, but where he really shines is his growth rates. 55 strength, 55 speed. He's almost as fast as the speedy ladies. But his defense is only 30. His dex is average at 45, but usually he uses like swords, or you see swords, you see fists, so hitting things isn't really an issue for him. That's only really usually a problem if you use axes, maybe lances. So it's not a big deal. His problem really is he gets outpaced, in my experience, by the AI as the game goes. So he'll be very strong for I want to say like chapter 7 or 8 to like 17 or 18, and then he kind of slowly tapers off. And in the Blue Lions run, he tapers off to the point where in the last like 2 or 3 chapters, he's pretty much, he doesn't do anything. Like I used him to block a reinforcement spawn in the last chapter. That was literally all he did. I couldn't even let him hit anything, because everything just starts to get so fast and hit so hard that he's not tanky enough to keep up with it. But as long as you take him down the War Master path, he can usually, at the very least, kill things. Which is what I recommend. You take him down Fighter, Brigand, Grappler, I think is what it is, and then War Master for quick riposte. And he's decent if you do that. But yeah, we will be absolutely recruiting Felix. He's a solid unit. He doesn't quite have the versatility, is that the word? Versatility? That's the word, of Leone, Ingrid, and Petra, but he's still good in his own right for not being able to use Falcon Knights. I could, of course, just make him a Wyvern Lord. I could just make everyone a Wyvern Lord, but that's kind of boring, so I won't be doing that. Which means it's kind of suboptimal, this little playthrough I'm doing, but that's alright. If you really want to just beat Maddening, just to say you beat it, just make everybody a Wyvern Lord or a Falcon Knight. That's basically all you really need to do, but yeah, I'll be recruiting Felix. He's good. He gets 2 relics. He gets his Aegis shield and the
Felix is the heir to House
I can't remember what that sword is
He has a
called.
bit of a sharp tongue,
You can only
but
get
don't
his
let him- he
sword
gravitates-
on the Blue Lions route, but you can still get the shield, and the shield is what kind of evens the odds for him tank-wise. I can never remember exactly what it does, but it gives him the ability to trigger Aegis, which just halves damage he takes, which helps. I don't typically like relying on something like that to, keep him alive, so I won't just throw him into a situation where it looks like he's gonna die and then just pray Aegis triggers. But it does trigger occasionally, and it helps, so that's one nice thing about him. But yeah, we'll be recruiting him. Solid unit. Ash!
He's the adoptive son of Lord Lonato of Castle Gaspar, but I hear he was born a commoner. He has an extremely earnest personality, so I'm certain he will approach your lectures with great enthusiasm.
Ash was the star of my last Maddening run. He even got an MVP in Chapter 12. Incredible. I mentioned him before when talking about Bernadetta. 35 strength, 55 dex, 50 speed, 40 luck. He has the exact same problem Bernadetta does, in that his strength will be too low for him to not get doubled by everything. So usually he's a bad unit. That one exception I've mentioned notwithstanding. His unique ability is Lockpit, but if I'm being honest, having that really doesn't matter, because you can just buy chest keys and door keys from the shop. So if you really need to get open chests and things, which we will be doing, he's not very useful. The one thing that's nice about him is he you need to have him to unlock the Falling Short of Heaven Prologue. And the reason you want that Prologue is one of the rewards from it is the Shoes of Wind, which permanently increases a unit's movement speed. And having very mobile flying units is insane, and I'm going to be having a couple units running around on the ground, so having them will also be nice if they can at least move very long distances, because they will be limited by terrain. So I will be attempting to recruit him just for that Prologue, but I will not be using him after that. He's a very mediocre unit in general. Sylvain.
Sylvain is the heir to House Gautier. He is a capable person who highly values his friends. That said, well, he's always been a bit of a skirt chaser, so to speak. Pardon my bluntness. I speak with him about it often, but it doesn't seem to help.
Alright. Defining ability Philanderer. Female allies adjacent. Deals 2 extra damage and takes 2 less damage. That's alright. It's actually pretty decent for whenever I play Golden Deer, just because I usually play female Byleth on Golden Deer, and I usually always have Petra, Leone, and Ingrid as well, which makes him pretty it means you get some bang for your buck with that ability, at least early on. But he's part of the Ferdinand Lorenz Sylvain Cavalier thing, and the only way I found him ever useful is to make him a Wyvern Lord, which kinda works. His problem is he's got 45 strength, and while his speed's okay at 50, in my experience, by the end of the game, he usually ends up with around 30-ish strength and 30-ish speed, like somewhere in the low to mid-30 range for both. They seem to always kind of just be in parity with each other at a very mediocre number. So he will absolutely get doubled. The one thing he is useful for if you take him down Wyvern Lord is he's very good at finishing off Falcon Knights. The one thing you will find if you play Maddening is Falcon Knights are an absolute terror. They're fast, they have high avoid, and they hit hard. So you need people that can guarantee hits on them, which means axe users. So he's useful if you take him down Wyvern Lord in that regard, but overall he's otherwise too slow to do anything, and he can usually be tanky enough to take at least 1-2, like to be 2-rounded, just because he has a 55 base HP growth, which is really high. So he can usually survive getting doubled once, but he can't survive against mages, he can't survive against bows because he'll be a Wyvern Lord, and he can't survive against fighters, or brawlers, or whatever you want to call them. Which means he's kind of limited to his one niche, so I don't like using him very much because of that. Mercedes.
I hear she was born to imperial nobility, but a twist of fate brought her to the kingdom. She may seem carefree on the surface, but she's actually a kind soul who pays careful attention to everyone around her.
Defining ability Live to Serve. When healing an ally with white magic, unit recovers the same amount of HP. Very useful on the maps where you can be hit across the map, because usually she's probably going to be your weakest or second weakest unit, which means she will be targeted every time. So this way, when she heals allies, she heals herself, so you don't have to worry about healing her. She's absolutely the best healer in the game, and because of that, she's one of the best units in the game. She has heal, she gets physic at C, and then she gets fortify at B, which is a big AoE heal based on her magic attribute. And the area it heals in gets bigger with her magic. So her magic growth is 50, which means that radius starts to get really big really quick. So you can basically full heal your whole team at once 4 times every round by the time she reaches the bishop class. Very strong. As an offensive unit, you don't really do it. She has 45 dex, 40 speed, and while her magic is solid, you need her to heal. Her resistance growth is 45, however. So, in the odd occasion where you do need somebody to aggro a mage, you can feel perfectly safe using her, because even if she gets doubled, she'll take so little damage from it that it usually doesn't matter. I will absolutely be recruiting Mercedes. She makes life very easy, as you will see. Annette.
Annette is Baron Dominic's niece. She is a talented student who scored extremely high marks at the Royal School of Sorcery. She's cheerful and hardworking. Brilliant, really. Though she can be a bit oblivious at times. I hear she caused an explosion in the kitchen last night.
Annette's the game's rally bot / dancer. So, I've had her do okay as an offensive mage on hard mode. Unfortunately, her speed growth is 35. So, her magic is 50, her dex is 50, speed 35. So she's not ever going to ever be fast enough to double anything. Ever. I don't think I've ever seen her double a single thing in Maddening. You would have to put some serious investment to get her fast enough to be useful, and if you're doing that, you may as well just use Lysithea, which is what we'll be doing. She's solid as a rally bot because she gets perseverance, strength +4, very useful early on because she doesn't do any damage. And if you make her a dancer too, she'll get dance, special dance, she'll have rally, you can give her the stride gambit. She has a lot of utility, but she doesn't have damage, she can't really tank anything, and she's just kind of a weak unit overall. One of the weaker units in the game. And since I already have a dancer lined up, and I probably don't have the time to recruit her, I won't be recruiting her. Otherwise, I would use her over the other guy. Oh, right. One thing I forgot to mention about Sylvain.
Sylvain is the heir to... Well, he's always...
He's very easy to recruit. If you pick female Byleth, you can just talk to him and recruit him instantly. No other conditions required, which is kind of nice. So, because he is absolutely better than Raphael. So I will be recruiting him after Chapter 1, or as soon as I can, basically. And I will be using him until I recruit the people I actually want. Because he is okay. Ingrid.
Ingrid is Count Galatia's daughter. She is also a childhood friend of Felix, Sylvain, and myself. She is diligent, industrious, and principled. In truth, she is more knightly than most knights you will ever meet.
Ingrid's a beast. Lady Knight is a very decent to good ability, just because being able to guarantee hits with gambits in those critical moments are very helpful, especially with someone like me, in the way I play the dumb game. So she is, of course, part of the Leone, Petra, Ingrid triangle, which means she's very fast. She's got 60 speed, 35 strength. Her dex is low, especially compared to Leone and Petra. Petra has 50, Leone has 55, Ingrid is at 40. But where she shines is her resistance at 40. And for a physical unit, having 40 resistance is nuts. I've had her have, I think in my last run on Blue Line, she had 42 resistance by the time I got to the last map. Which means out of all my units, when I was beating that map, she was one of the 3 who could actually go in and aggro units and fight and tank. She usually requires a little work on her strength, so I will be feeding her strength stat items just to keep her up to speed with everything. Her speed growth is high enough that she'll naturally just keep up, at least in that regard. And because she naturally goes down the Pegasus Knight, Falcon Knight kind of tree, she will easily have enough speed for everything. So the only real thing you have to worry about is her strength, and her resistance is so high that you can basically use her as your mage killer, which you definitely need. You need at least one somewhere, whether they can just dodge the spells or outright tank them and dodge them, either works. We'll definitely be recruiting Ingrid. She also gets a relic weapon from a Prologue, and that weapon usually gives her enough extra damage to make up the difference when it comes to one-rounding something. So yeah, very strong unit. Probably, in my opinion, the most useful between Petra, Leone, and herself, just because she's uniquely suited to killing mages, and even with her relatively low strength gain, mages are so susceptible to physical attacks that it usually doesn't matter that much. So yeah, we'll be recruiting pretty quick. That's the Blue Lions. They have very good units. Felix, Dimitri, Mercedes, and Ingrid, all four of them are bangers. Although Felix slightly less so in my opinion. And Dimitri is the Chad god of the game, for sure.
Right.
At least after the DLC was released. But alright, let's talk to these folks.
Well, it must be my lucky day today, being approached by such a beauty. I'm Sylvain Jose Gautier. Feel free to say hi whenever you like.
Hi there. You must be the one everyone's talking about. I'm Ash. Great to meet you. This here is Dedu. He serves Prince Dimitri.
I have heard that you rescued His Highness. Words cannot express my gratitude. Should you ever require my strength, please know that I will hasten to repay this debt.
Thanks, dude.
And who's this? You don't look familiar at all. Do you work here at the monastery?
Oh, Mercy! Do you think this is that mercenary people have been talking about?
Now that I think about it, that does sound like something Dimitri may have said. I suppose you'll be enrolling at the Officers' Academy too, then? Well, it's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Mercedes, and this is my best friend.
I'm Annette. It's nice to meet you.
I like Annette. I just wish she didn't suck.
I have heard all about what you did from Prince Dimitri. As a citizen of Fargus, I thank you.
He also said you're quite skilled, and he doesn't just say things like that. I look forward to sparring with you and beating you.
Felix, must you always speak of fighting right away? Oh, and, you may call me Ingrid. It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance.
Okay? That's, what do you think?
Claude.
Well, scored a teaching gig here, did you? Talk about a great first impression. I guess that means I'd better introduce myself properly. I'm Claude von Regan. I'm from the ruling house of the Leicester Alliance, but don't worry too much about all that madness. I'm guessing you don't know which class you'll be teaching yet, do you? I bet you'd like ours. We're not as difficult as the other two. Have you met the folks from the Golden Deer House yet? Care to know more about anyone?
Not as difficult. That's one way of putting it. Sure.
Piqued your interest, have I? As luck would have it, I'm pretty curious about you as well. But what's life without a bit of mystery? Let's just spend the next year or so learning about each other little by little.
So in my opinion, before the Cindered Shadows DLC was released, Claude was the best unit in the game. Simply because his unique class is a flying class, and it has really good growths that make up for his weaknesses. Somewhat. So he only has 40 strength, but he is an archer, so based on the way the other three go, I'm honestly not shocked. But his dex is 60, which is ridiculous, and his speed is 55, which means he's almost tied with the other three. So he's tied with Felix at least, so he is fast. And his strength is 40, which is a little below what I would say is average. But it's good enough, and in my experience, if he has bad strength growths early, I'll just make him a brigand to get death blow before pivoting him into archer. And that usually makes up for it decently well. But I have gotten pretty lucky on him before, and if you get like a couple strength level ups early on from like say, I don't know, level 3 to like 8, he'll be a pretty strong unit for most of the game. His real usefulness shines in the fact that he's an archer, which means he kills Falcon Knights and Pegasus Knights and Wyvern Riders. And you absolutely need 1 or 2 units that can just smash them. If you don't, they're actually so awful to deal with. In that regard, he's incredible. His charisma, if I remember right, is also 55, tied with Dimitri, 5 less than Edelgard, which means he will pretty much have a guaranteed 100% hit rate on gambits. His gambit is ridiculous. It's a ranged AoE gambit, so it's slightly better than Dimitri's and Edelgard's. And because charisma's really high, he'll always hit. So he's very useful at just stun locking large groups of enemies from a distance. His relic weapon is also very good, and because his dex is so high, he has a really high crit rate, and since his relic weapon has a range of 3 instead of the usual 2, he can really take advantage of his high crit chance and his long range very well. And his kit's just solid. He's a very good unit. His flying, his damage, his speed, his charisma, all that just kind of comes together very well. In my opinion, he's probably... yeah, I would say just because of his gambit, he's probably still the second best unit in the game. I've had a lot of success with Lysithea lately, but she's insane. I don't really know what they were thinking with her. But we'll talk about her when we get to her. But yeah, Claude's great. Great unit. Lorenz.
He's the heir of Gloucester territory. If you haven't already picked up on it, he's a bit arrogant and fancies himself a ladies' man. That said, deep down he's really devoted and honest. Though I wouldn't mind never hearing him talk about his noble obligations ever again.
So I'm just gonna say this as plainly as possible. Lorenz is fucking garbanzo beans. He's probably slightly better than Raphael Dedu. I honestly think he's worse than Caspar. Just because his weakness is fist, which means you can't make up for his speed by at least making him a brawler. You could, but it would require investment, and you're just better off investing in other people at that point. I will be making him my dancer for this run, just because of how bad he is at everything else. 40 strength, which is, I would say, below average, which I kind of throw at 45, 40. Yeah, I would say if you want to be a successful melee unit in Maddening, you want to have at least 45. Like, you just need it. Magic is 40, so he's kind of like... You have an option of making him like a Dark Knight, which I guess he has mild success with. But Lysithea is just so overwhelming as a mage that you really don't need anybody else to do it. Like, she can do it all herself. She's a ridiculous unit. His dex is 45, which means he will have problems hitting things sometimes. Speed is 40, which means he will never be fast enough to double anything and will always be doubled pretty much for the entire game. He at least has 40 resistance, which I believe is the same as Ingrid's, yes. So he will be usually tanky-ish against mages, but without Ingrid's speed and with only 5 more strength than her, it's honestly, he's just not a good unit at all. His best use, in my opinion, is as a dancer. And the only reason you ever recruit him is for his Prologue, because it gets the Thrysis relic, which turns Lysithea into a mortar cannon. So you pretty much would, whenever I play this game, whenever I'm not playing Golden Deer, I recruit Lysithea, and then I literally only recruit Lorenz for his relic, and then I never use him again. He's a pretty bad unit, in my opinion. Do I even have to talk about him?
He comes from a merchant family, but his parents died in an accident. Seems like he's had a rough life. Despite all that, he's just about the most cheerful guy you'll ever meet. His passions are training, eating, and actually that's about it.
Sir Raphael is basically worse to do. He has 50 strength and 65 HP, which is great. I think his HP is actually the highest in the game. Yes. So 65 HP is at least the highest. But I think he has the lowest speed growth at 15. I don't believe there's anybody else. I think even Cyril's speed is higher than his. Yes, Cyril's speed is higher. Cyril is probably the worst unit in the game. But Raphael is 15 speed, 35 dex. So he's literally going to get hit twice by everything. And he's going to miss everything, like, I don't know, probably 50% of the time with that horrendous dex growth. His defense is 45, which is nice, so you can at least make some use out of him as an armored knight. And maybe a brawler, but I would just throw him armored knight, because at least then you can take advantage of one of his higher stats. But, just like Dedue, he'll get absolutely shredded by anything magical. And he's less useful than Dedue early game just because of Dedue's defining ability, which will just give him... It's +4, +5 defense if he just waits in place instead of using an action. So he's worse at defending against attacks early on. I will absolutely drop this guy the instant I see an opportunity to. I've literally never used him. I've never used him on hard. I've never used him on normal. I don't want to. He's just bad. I don't have to use him to know he's bad. Because I've used Dedue, and Dedue's a better version of him. And so is Caspar. I think this guy might be better than Gilbert, though, just because, well, at least I can work on him from level 1, right? But yeah, won't be using Raphael. Ignatz.
He's the second son of a merchant family. Since his brother will inherit the business, he's training to become a knight. If you ask me, it doesn't seem like he truly wants to be a knight. He's probably just doing it to please his parents.
Alright, Ignatz, part of the Archer trio, Bernie, Ash, Ignatz. He's the best of the three, I think. Has the same strength, has 50 dex, 50 speed. So they're all comparable in that regard, but he has the defining ability Watchful Eye, hit +20. Having an extra 20 hit on a character is huge on Maddening. Because there will be very often, many times, as you watch me play this, where I will have to just go for like a 70%, 60% hit rate, and just kind of hope it works out in order to do something. And that's not great, and he kind of removes that variable. But his problem is his strength is so low that even though he will hit, it'll be chip damage, which is okay, but that becomes less useful very quickly. So he will be relatively helpful for the first few chapters, but like Raphael, I'll be dropping him the instant I can, just because there are just many better units I could use instead. Oh jeez.
Lysithea is the daughter of Count Ordelia, and is probably the youngest student here. But watch out, she gets angry if you treat her like a child. As for me, I do it on purpose. You have to make your own fun in this place, you know?
Alright, Lysithia's insane. She's probably tied with Claude for second best unit in the game, even though she doesn't have his Gambit. So she only has 20 HP growth and 15 strength growth, so she will... I've seen her hit 14 strength once, and I think that's the highest I've ever seen her get. And she usually ends the game with around 35 to 40 HP. So she's incredibly squishy, but she has 60 magic, 60 dex, and 50 speed, which is nuts. I've seen her magic stat hit 70 at endgame, which means she can one-shot pretty much everything, including bosses. It's nuts. Her resistance and defense are 10 and 25. Her luck is 15, so she can get crit very easily. If she gets hit with a physical attack, she crumbles like wet paper. And even her resistance isn't very good, so even other mages can kill her. But thanks to the power of the Cindered Shadows DLC, plus Lorenz's Prologue, she is a monster. So the Thrysis gives her magic attacks an extra 4 range, I believe, which means she can attack anything from 5 tiles away. When you get her Reason to S rank, she gets an additional +1 range in all her dark magic, and the Cindered Shadows DLC gives you access to the Dark Flyer class, so she will be a 6 range dark magic flyer with a base 60 magic growth. And what that usually ends up being is similar to Dimitri, is she'll have, from her class growth, she'll have like at least a 70% chance to get magic on level up. So she'll hit very hard, and that is incredibly useful throughout the entire game. Easily top 3 units in the game, in my opinion. Defining ability Mastermind doubles skill experience earned in battle, which basically means she masters classes faster, which means she gets to magic +2 fast, which means she gets to fiendish blow fast, transmute. So she gets very strong very quickly. It's pretty crazy. I hope you enjoy watching her just start murdering things in one hit. Because while her speed is high, her strength is so low that even though she's not actually wielding a weapon, she won't be fast enough to double things, but she hits so hard it won't matter. Marianne.
Marianne is Margrave Edmund's daughter, and that's pretty much all I know about her. She doesn't interact much with other students, so I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of folks here have never even heard her speak.
Alright, of the 3 main healers, Marianne, Linhart, and Mercedes, she's probably the worst just because she doesn't have warp. You can make an argument that silence, which she gets at B rank in Faith, is just as useful, I guess, for the the mortar or the bolting mages that you'll have to deal with. But I don't know. I usually the instant I get Mercedes, I swap her out. Fortify is just such a useful spell. And while silence is nice, Lysithea has warp, which means you don't need to use Linhart really either. And I guess I forgot to mention that Lysithea also got warp, so she'll have like 70 magic and warp, which is based off her magic stats, so she can literally warp you to any part of the map you need to go. She's crazy. But yeah, so Marianne she can be used. She's not a useless unit. She's just kind of middling, in my opinion. She's okay. Hilda's weird.
Hilda is the only daughter of Duke Goneril. It seems her father and brother coddle her quite a bit. If you look up lazy in the dictionary, her picture won't be there because she never got around to submitting it. Not too unusual for a noble, I guess.
Hilda's a strange unit, so she's kind of like an extra cavalier type unit as far as her growth rates goes. So she has 45 strength, 30 dex, 50 speed, and she is an axe user. So she has low hit, and she kind of has, I guess you would say, just barely there strength. But for whatever reason, every time I've played Golden Deer or I've used Hilda, she ends up, I think I must just get lucky, because she ends up with a lot more strength than I'm expecting. I usually hit at least 40 to 45 with her. Sometimes. It'll be high 30s, low 40s usually by the time the game ends, even though she doesn't have an outstanding strength growth. But I guess it kind of makes sense though when you think about it, because she goes Fighter, Brigand, Wyvern Rider, Wyvern Lord, all of those give you bonuses to strength. Her only real issue is Dex, but since she's an axe user, she's very strong against Falcon Knights and Pegasus Knights. Her HP base is 50, which means she gets pretty tanky. Her defense is 35. Only 20 resistance, so she is susceptible to magic. She will die to archers, but even when she gets doubled, she's tanky enough to take it. And her combat abilities with axes are pretty good, and usually good enough to make up for her lacking dexterity. So, I will be using her. I could probably use someone better, but I don't think there's enough time in part 1 of the game to recruit enough people to kind of justify phasing her out, and since I have her from level 1, there's no reason not to really use her. She's, if nothing else, a good meat shield by the end of the game.
Leonie enrolled because she wants to be a mercenary. I think she said that her father is a hunter. She's pretty blunt and as stingy as they come. A habitual saver, too. I think she's hoping to repay her village for helping to send her here.
Leone is pretty variable, actually. You can make her a paladin, you can make her a falcon knight, you can make her a bow knight. Now, paladin is kind of an extension, it's the cavalry promotion. And cavalier does give you minus 10% speed growth, but her base growth is 60. So she's probably the only natural cavalier that can actually do it and make it work if you get a little lucky with her. Usually I would just make her a falcon knight, but I think I'm gonna just give bow knight a try for this one. Just because I kind of want to... I made her a bow knight in my Blue Lions run, and it went okay, but I kind of want to try some other things. I want to see if I can make it work better. So I think I'm going to do that just to see what happens, and it's always nice to have another archer to help Claude shoot flyers out of the sky. She's a very strong unit. Of the 3 speedsters, she has the highest strength at 40, so just under what I would say is ideal. But she does have 55 dex and 60 speed, and her defense is 40. So unlike Petra and Ingrid, she will be able to take a hit better than them when she does get hit, which is nice. So she will be able to trade with other archers typically. She can wipe out mages, and she can wipe out falcon knights. So, very useful unit. She's just as useful as Ingrid. I would say they're on par, they just have different niches. So, we'll be using Leone.
I appreciate your effort.
Yep. No, I need to talk to the Golden Deer first. Thanks.
Ah, you must be that renowned mercenary. Perhaps you'd like to join me for a cup of tea sometime. My name is Lawrence Hellman Gloucester. You will want to remember it.
Yeah, I forgot it. Sorry.
Are you someone's guest? The dining hall's that way, if that's what you're looking for.
No, Raphael. That's Captain Gerald's kid. Hi, I'm Leone Pinelli, Captain Gerald's first and greatest apprentice. I'm sure he's told you about me.
Nice to meet you. I'm Raphael Kirsten. Who are you again?
So you're the skilled mercenary who saved Claude, are you?
Oh, you are? It's such an honor to meet you. Ignatz Victor. My parents are Alliance merchants.
And I am Lysithia von Ordelia. Please do not forget it.
I guess I should mention that these are the units from the 3 houses aren't the only units you can recruit. You can also recruit people from the Church of Serenes. But I'll probably leave them for when they're actually available to be recruited. I mostly only just recruit them just because. I don't really ever use them just because I don't find it fun to use units that are already like, you know, level 15 or 20. I like to use people that from the lowest level I can possibly get. And I just have more fun that way. But some of them are definitely not bad. And then there's Gilbert. So, and Cyril. Ugh.
Hey, are you that mercenary? Everyone's been talking about you. I'm Hilda Valentine Goneril, and her name is...
Marianne von Edmund.
Are you joining the Knights of Seros or something? Well, I look forward to seeing more of you.
Yeah, okay, so I guess we're done with this, so we'll go back and talk to Rhea.
How are you enjoying your time at the Academy thus far? I hope you have found our halls brimming with the vitality of well-intentioned souls.
I suppose it is time for you to take charge of one of our 3 houses of students. I must note that I am personally against entrusting someone as lacking in trackable history as yourself with such a task. But it is as the Archbishop desires.
The Black Eagles, the Blue Lions, and the Golden Deer. All so different. I hope you've made it a point to get to know each of them.
Since you are new here, we have decided to allow you first pick. Manuela and I will take charge of the remaining 2 houses.
Oh, yep, there they are, my boys.
So you have chosen the Golden Deer led by Claude, correct?
Yes, I've chosen easy mode.
Your heart has made its choice then. All I ask is that you guide these open minds with virtue, care, and sincerity.
They are all promising youths who bear the weight of Fodlan's future upon their shoulders. I hope you appreciate what an honor it is to lead them.
Brother? Oh, I am so sincerely sorry. I did not mean to interrupt.
I'm in the middle of something, Flane. Is it urgent?
No, it's nothing. More importantly, who is this?
This is our newest professor at the Academy.
Oh my! A new addition to the Officers' Academy! I am so very pleased to meet you, Professor. I am Sedith's little sister, Flame. I am so happy to make your acquaintance.
Let us focus on the topic at hand. There is something you should be aware of. In a few days' time, there will be a mock battle between the three houses, intended to gauge the current progress of the students. We will be using this battle as an opportunity to ascertain your own abilities as well. Please do not disappoint the Archbishop. That is all.
Oh, sure. Damn, it's been an hour and
Wait,
50 minutes.
What? Are you really our new homeroom professor?
Is that true? You aren't quite what I had pictured. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean that the way it sounded.
I was sure you'd be roped into joining the Knights.
Don't tell me. You chose this class just to get to know me better, right? I'm flattered, really. Whoops. Now that you're our professor, maybe I should choose my words more carefully. Oh, well then, since we're pretty close in age and all, I suppose formalities aren't all that necessary.
One must truly marvel at the exceptionality of this appointment, becoming a teacher to students almost the same age as yourself. How unusual. I've heard you are a skilled mercenary, but I cannot shake my discomfort at your new position.
Are you really as strong as they say? Let's see your biceps. I bet I packed on more muscle than you.
I doubt that. Apparently our new professor was personally recommended by Alois, one of the Knights.
As far as skill goes, I saw it with my own eyes. What's more, Teach here is the child of the most renowned former captain of the Knights of Seros.
I heard. There's no way a child of the captain isn't worthy. It's simply not possible. The captain? Who are you talking about? Captain Geralt, of course. The most notable captain of the Knights of Seros and a peerless mercenary. Huh. It doesn't matter what you think of him. Captain Geralt deserves nothing but respect. Well, after working as a mercenary alongside a father figure such as he, I have high hopes for our professor.
Just because someone is special doesn't mean their children are special too, Lysithia. Assuming that a child is going to be exceptional just because of their lineage is a bad idea. Don't you agree, Marianne?
Huh? Oh, yes, I suppose so. Well, we can find out for ourselves in battle. I can't wait to see what tactics you've learned from the captain.
A battle? Shouldn't we have a welcome party or something first? I'll get the meat.
How savage. I propose a nice conversation over tea instead. I am more than willing to procure some high-quality leaves.
Tea? You can't get to know someone over tea. If there's no meat involved, it's not a party.
Your common sensibilities are grating to my noble ears. Please quiet yourself.
Sorry for the bickering, Teach. As you can see, the Golden Deer House is a rowdy bunch. We're not especially unified. You'll find nobles and commoners alike here, those who are dedicated to their studies alongside slackers. But hey, that just makes your life more exciting, right? I really hope you're looking forward to the year ahead as much as I am.
Oh, sure, dude. Yup.
Say, while you're here, I'd like to use this device I designed to determine whether the power of a crest resides within you. Won't hurt a bit. Promise. You don't know about crests? Well, allow me to tell you everything, absolutely everything about them. Is your calendar clear? This will take a while. Crests are a fascinating topic, but before one can dive deeply into said topic, one must first understand what crests are. They are power incarnate. They are said to have been bestowed upon humans by the goddess countless ages ago. They exist within the flesh and are passed down through bloodlines. Those who carry crests may excel at magic, display exceptional strength, or any number of boons. Each crest has its own power, the nature of which is beyond mortal understanding. For now. I suspect as much, yes. But we won't know for sure unless I look into the matter. As I said, crests are passed down through the blood. However, just because someone carries a crest does not necessarily mean their descendants will inherit it as well. Only a scarce few descendants of a crest's bloodline end up inheriting that crest's power. Perhaps one of your ancestors bore a crest, and you just happen to inherit it. That is how a crest usually presents itself, after all. Yes, of course. I'll get to the bottom of it straight away. Now then, please go ahead and hold out your arm over this device here. What is this? A pattern I've never seen before. Is it possible an as yet undiscovered crest has been detected? To think there are still crests out there that even I am unaware of. How thrilling! Pardon my unrestrained jubilation. I have much to consider. You may leave now. I have more research to do in regard to this crest. Yes, so very much more research. But for now, your work here is done. What could this line here be indicating? Perhaps it represents a lack of symmetry. Or perhaps... What in the world? Oh, I see. It may be connected to that, but to a greater degree than usual.
Jeez, I forgot how much talking there was. Alright.
With each moon, professors of the officers
Oh,
notes
yeah,
pay
yeah,
care.
yeah. It's just game mechanics. Okay. I believe that's it for this little prologue thing. And then got chapter 1, and then as far as I'm concerned after that, that's when the party starts. Alright, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the little prologue bit. Have a good one.